Yeah, that's 911. This is Carla. Where's your emergency?
Hi, this is an off-duty officer. I need EMS. I'm at apartment number 1478. I'm in 1478.
And what's the address there?
It's 1210 South Lamar, 1478. Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm an off-duty officer. I thought it was in my apartment, and I shot a guy thinking it was my apartment.
You shot someone?
Yes, I thought it was my apartment. I'm fucked. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Okay, and where are you at right now?
I'm in, what do you mean? I'm inside the apartment with him. Hey, come on.
What's your name?
I'm Amber Guyger.
Okay, we have help on the way.
I know, but I'm going to lose my job.
Approximately 800,000 sworn police officers and 17,000 agencies in the United States face the task of enforcing the laws in society. The duties of a police officer depend on what is necessary, and though a police officer's primary duty is to maintain public order and protect the public, their duties cover many other concepts bordering on mental health, crisis intervention, and many other high-stress tasks. Yet despite being on high alert at long periods of time for fear of being physically attacked, publicly criticized, and witnessing the death of citizens and fellow officers, police officers generally exhibit emotional stability and are reported to be remarkably free of psychopathology, suggesting psychological resilience in the law enforcement population. But the argument posed by psychologists and critics of the justice system is that the personality profile necessary for an officer to successfully perform his or her duties essentially require them to be half hitman, half monk. This extreme divide required of a person, plus the added elements of distrust by a portion of society, and exposure to distressing situations on a regular basis, frequently leads to traumatic psychological ramifications, often which are disregarded in an effort not to be seen as weak in the eyes of their colleagues. Post-traumatic stress disorder, implicit biases, and psychopathic tendencies are prerequisite factors that speak for themselves on the role they could play in excessive use of force by law enforcement. Many of these factors could have had an impact on what happened on September 6, 2019, when after a 14-hour shift, Dallas police officer Amber Guyger stepped towards her third-floor apartment and reached for her keys which sat in her front right pocket, only to realize that the door was unlocked. As she pushed the door open, she saw a figure across the room which prompted her to order the person to show their hands. What happened in the seconds following this initial interaction is still up for debate by many who followed this case. What is known about that moment, without a reasonable doubt, is that Officer Amber Guyger drew her service weapon and fired 2 shots in the direction of the perceived intruder, Botham Jean, a 26-year-old accountant who lived in the apartment complex. 1 shot missed. The other entered through his pulmonary valve before striking the rib and perforating the medial edge of the left lung, and finally settling in the abdominal cavity through the diaphragm. Botham Jean was immediately incapacitated and bleeding out. Moments after shooting Jean, Officer Guyger realized she wasn't on the 3rd floor as she believed, but 1 story above on the 4th. Ironically, it was Guyger who was intruding on Jean, who at the time happened to be innocently watching television and eating ice cream in his own apartment. She immediately contacted 911, and her fellow officers showed up within minutes as they were only a few blocks away. Jean was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital by paramedics, where he died shortly after. The wound caused by Amber Guyger not only ended the life of Botham Jean, but opened up old wounds that sit deep in the skin of America. Amber Guyger may have felt unassailable as a cop, but now she had to face a force more powerful than the street criminals she was accustomed to, and that force was Lady Justice.
So I get out, I go down, I make left onto the hallway where my apartment's at, and I put the key fob in the door, and I don't even have to turn it. It's like the door is already cracked or something, so I push it, and I hear some movement around the apartment, and so I automatically draw my gun thinking somebody's in my apartment that doesn't belong there. I'm the only one that lives there. No one does. And so when I open it, I pull my gun. I still have my bags and everything. I pull my gun out, and I see a dark body, like a silhouette, just standing in the very back. It's dark inside. I can't see anything. And so I say, "Let me see your hands." The person keeps moving around. I can't see where his hands are going. And so at that point, I feel like, you're going to kill me. Obviously, you're in my apartment. I feel like you don't belong there, so you see me, you're going to be spooked and be like, shit, I got caught. And so I feel like you're going to kill me, and I know you're going to kill me.
When we reason using assumptions or further propositions whose truth is uncertain or improbable, we commit the fallacy of unwarranted assumption, and the truth of our conclusions is grossly affected. As seen here, when Officer Guyger mentions that she saw the figure in the dark, she subconsciously or consciously came to the conclusion that the figure was there to kill her. In theory, a trained police officer making this leap in logic is unlikely were they to properly use the use of force continuum. For that reason, the cause of her antagonistic behavior would be caused by an abnormal state of increased responsiveness to stimuli or unethical behavior.
On one hand, I was on the phone with 911, so I walked back outside because I was like, fuck, I'm at 1478. I live at 1378. And so I couldn't even get my numbers, like the actual physical address. I've lived there less than 2 months. I just moved there.
When an internal affairs issue arises in law enforcement agencies, officers from another agency will be appointed to investigate the case, to avoid conflicts of interest and the potential for biases. The officer interrogating Amber Guyger that we see here is Texas Ranger Sergeant David Armstrong. The Texas Ranger Division is a United States investigative law enforcement agency with statewide jurisdiction in Texas. Ranger Sergeant David Armstrong's role in the investigation will be of further importance as events unfold.
And aggressive, he started going, hey, hey. And to me, you're yelling at me like, oh, you're about to kill me. You're about to do something.
What made you fearful? I understand that, you know,
in my home, there's an intruder.
Mm-hmm.
You're not listening to me. You're moving around. You're in the back towards the window, and then you advance towards like the front near the counter. So I still can't see your hands. You're not listening to me. You're gonna kill me. And their reaction, if you get caught, oh hell, I'm getting out. You're the one that's gonna be out.
Notice that Guyger is sitting with two other men here in the interrogation room. Those are her lawyers. Unlike an inexperienced criminal or someone who thinks they can talk their way out of an interrogation, Guyger knows to never talk to police without a lawyer. And by her own experience with the law, or by the coaching of her lawyers, Guyger knows that in order to use self-defense as her argument in court, she has to reiterate the fact that she was in fear for her life from the moment she encountered Botham Jean, in order to give substance to her argument.
When you, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're putting it in, I guess at the same time the door started to move?
Yes, that's what I mean, like it's pushed up, like it's being pushed open.
Gotcha.
So,
did you hear anything at that point?
That's when I hear moving around.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, this guy, something's going through my stuff, or I don't know what he's doing. And so I was scared. I thought I was gonna die. I don't know what else.
Can you describe what that movement sounded like?
Like shufflings around, walking around. And when I open the door fully, there's someone standing in the very back, and I just see a silhouette. It's big, so that's what I can get out. I couldn't tell you what the person was wearing. I couldn't.
Okay. And you said it was dark in there, is that correct?
It was dark.
Okay.
I turned on the lights whenever I walk back up to the front because I can't see shit. I can't see where he's hid.
In the body cam footage, as the officer begins to perform life-saving procedures on Botham Jean, it is evident that the 50-inch television screen facing the couch that Jean was sitting on is turned on. This television would have been projecting light towards the victim before the shooting, which contradicts the lack of visibility claimed in Amber Guyger's statements.
How far did you get into the apartment before you gave verbal commands?
I was at the doorway still.
Okay.
So
were you in it or still outside?
No, I was I guess the door frame,
You can demonstrate however you need to.
What you want.
Well, if I'm the door frame, so, and then the apartment goes this way.
Okay. So I'm literally like this, like still on the metal portion part. Okay. And I'm holding the door, going through the door frame. I'm holding the door open, and I see the shadow way back there. And that's when I draw, and I'm not trying to point at you.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Do what you need to do.
So I draw. I said, "Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands." He was way back there. He ended up towards the armrest of the couch, closest to the kitchen, and I shoot 2 times. I'm thinking because he's moving around so much, he's not listening. People, when they say, "Let me see your hands," they're going to stop what they're doing. They're not going to continue moving.
Generally speaking, when people hear someone, particularly a police officer, say, "Let me see your hands," they will listen and show their hands, as Officer Guyger explains here. But the key component to this interaction is that the person being addressed can hear the person calling out. Unfortunately, she didn't just fail to execute proper use of force in this situation, but didn't notice that Botham Jean hadn't heard her order because he was wearing headphones at the time of the interaction. The headphones were next to his head when paramedics arrived.
In your experience, has that been the case usually? Outside of this, when you've commanded somebody to...
they usually comply, or if they take off running, go run after them.
Okay. Was he walking towards you?
He was in the back of, like, towards the patio door, and he ended up more towards the front, and that's, I guess, when all he was moving around. I was telling him, I was like, "Let me see your hands," and he was not giving me his hands. Okay. And it's pitch black. I feel like you're gonna freaking pull something out and you're gonna kill me. Calling 911, trying to do compressions and stay on the phone with 911. I'm telling him, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was like, "Hey, bud, stay with me." Until this. But I get to the fridge. I thought it was my apartment. It was my apartment. And I told him, and I couldn't even tell the operator I didn't know what apartment number. I had to walk outside. And I walked back in and continued trying. And I'm sorry. I wasn't trying. I just wanted to go home that night.
According to the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on Botham Jean, as the gunshot tore through the left side of his chest, it was traveling in a downward motion. Guyger's account of this incident does not support this fact, and how this came to be is still unknown.
I've been involved in where a guy took my taser, got into a fight with him, did what I had to do. I shot him.
Can you detail that for me a little bit?
Yeah, one of our deployment guys, Bacon, said that there was a wanted individual, felony warrant. Get behind the car. Long story short, there's 3 people in there. The guy in the back seat is the one that he ends up having Mandel. He's selling out the car. We're not there for him. We're there for the female. We never got a chance to identify her because he started moving around in the back seat with this box. So I asked him, I was like, "Hey, you're reaching for it." He said, "No, it's not cool on the traffic stop." Or on the market we were at. So my partner gets him out, he pats him down. As soon as he starts patting down, he just starts reaching to his pocket again. And so I was like, I still got 2 people. Okay, so we get into a scuffle with him.
Your reaction to him reaching into his pockets to try and go hands-on?
Yeah, we're just doing a pat-down at this point now, because now our level of fear has gone up. You have something on you. You're making me uncomfortable. You're obviously up to something. I mean, his body language, him not complying with Martin's commands.
The details of this prior incident are indicative of a prior stressor that could have caused Guyger to develop heightened reactions to a similar circumstance. This is a characteristic symptom of PTSD.
So, once he starts pulling away from Martin, I notice that. I go over there, and that fight was on, and I told him, I was like, I'm pulling out my taser, I'm tasing him, and he takes my taser because we're up close fighting, and we get up on the ground, taser is in his hands, and I shoot him. You have the intentions of hurting me, my partner. You're not going to take our weapons.
Throughout the course of the interrogation, the expression of remorse or sorrow towards the death of the victim has been minimal from Officer Guyger, as well as a lack of questioning about the victim by Sergeant David Armstrong, which leaves a questionable impression on the interrogation as a whole. The trial for the killing of Botham Jean was undoubtedly an emotional one, and multiple testimonies were given. One of the testimonies included Sergeant David Armstrong, who was responsible with interrogating Guyger. Sergeant Armstrong defended Guyger and stated that she was reasonable to feel threatened and was justified for shooting Botham Jean. His statements were not received well by the portion of society who were critical of the courts for repeatedly turning a blind eye to unethical conduct exhibited by the state's police forces. Amber Guyger was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the murder of Botham Jean. Many were critical of this sentence. Jean's younger brother forgave and hugged Guyger during her sentencing. In reality, truth is not always as clear as we think, but one thing that is an absolute is that racially motivated violence should never be excused or justified. The matter of if the crime was racially motivated or truly accidental becomes irrelevant if we refuse to respect one another in future circumstances.